So this is the first bluing of the, this is a 48-inch straight edge. It's about 2 inches thick cast iron. I scraped it in off a granite plate, so it's very, very flat. I use it to glue the ways and amongst, using the actual mating parts as well. So this is the first crack at that fixed way side. You can see through here. This was contact down at the bottom of the column. First couple of cycles of bluing is always good to have a lot of blue on there. And then up, this would be the top of the column. That was really heavy in there scraping. So have a look at the part now. So this is the fixed way side on the column. This is the column laying on the 45. And like I said, the first couple cycles always have a lot of blue on there just to make sure we got some to lubricate. We don't want to scrape it or score the master, I'll say. So that's about almost a halfway up the column, and then up the top of the column you can see that's that spot there, that top edge. That first couple of inches appears to still have some scraping marks in it, and you can see this is the scraping I've done so far on the column. What I've learned so far is slower is always better when it comes to scraping. Still seems to be that high spot up here. It didn't quite bloom the same down there, so I always kind of step slowly when that blooming changes so drastically. That's about 5 cycles now. Just starting to get that top in. And again, so this is the top of the column, which has the least amount of wear, which means it's the point at which we have to remove the most metal. So we're trying to pivot. This is down at the bottom of the column. We're trying to pivot this whole face to get this again, taking the top of the column down. At least that's the plan. This is the top of the column on the fixed way side, so this is, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 cycles of scraping now, so this is starting to come in nice. And then the reason that I know the top of the column is wider is this had originally had some scraping marks left, and when you measure across between the fixed way and the sliding way side, it's wider here at the top, wider down at the bottom, so there's a bit of a dish in it where it wears in the middle, where it gets the most use. So I'm still bringing that top in. A little bit of contact down here at the bottom. I haven't started there yet. Working on the fixed way side of the column right now. So this is the top, and scraping that down. I had very little wear on it, obviously, because you don't run the table up at the top, right? Or the knee, I should say. So it's starting to come in, starting to at the bottom. Starting to glue up a bit. So we're going to work this top down a little bit more based on some measurements, and then try and get these two ends to connect together. Side, show a little bit of scraping here. It's just roughing, just at this point, just taking metal off. So this is the top of the column, fixed way side, and you know, this section here, as the knee runs up and down, doesn't have very much wear. So this is a plus in metal then, and as you go further down the column, there's a wear in it. So that's why we're just hitting the top and the bottom right now, trying to get the two ends to come together as we get the center straightened out. And so part of the cycle is, a scraping cycle is to obviously spot, glue it, and then scrape it, and then what I do is I clean it all off, and a little bit of WD, and then a worn file. I'm not trying to take the metal off. What I'm trying to do right now is just easy, just kind of knock off the tops of the burrs from the scraping cycle. Just very light pressure. Clean that off, and start it all over again. just scrape this end. It's a column end. We're going to wipe that down. This is the top of the column. Hit the bottom of the column at the same time. Just taking off that little burr that gets raised up when you do a scraping cycle. That's the recommendation. A lot of what I learned about scraping has come from the Connolly book on machine tool reconditioning. That's a big part of the scraping cycle, is getting that surface free of burrs. You don't want any kind of burr or any debris when you do your next scraping cycle, or spotting cycle, sorry. So this is down at the bottom of the column. You can see it just starting to fade away as you go up the column there, which is good. Where the top and the bottom are going to meet eventually here. And this is now, I'm scraping in the opposite direction of the last cycle. Be careful on the edges. It's easy to roll that big burr on the edge. So for this, the bluing's pretty thick on this right now because we're just roughing down as you get closer and closer to making a bearing surface. You just continue to work that straight edge and keep using the blue, and every cycle blue comes off and the bluing gets thinner and thinner and thinner, and you get a better and better reading as you go to create a good bearing surface. At least that's the plan. And the scraper right now, I got the butt of the scraper in my chest. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice. And I'm pushing with my torso. I've got this leather pad I made up. 3 or 4 layers of leather, and it just helps spread that load across my chest there. You can see how that washes out. We're up at the top of the column at this point, and it's starting to wash out.